son de los más buenos, porque aquí no arriba.
This is my favorite book of all time, Jesus' Son by Dennis Johnson. It deals, as my fiction does too, with addiction of the chemical and interpersonal kind. I've carried it with me to hospitals, detox, rehab, trips. It has seen everything as I have. Dennis Johnson crafts sentences like no one else, beautiful and raw down to the periods. It taught me how to write in the same way you learn how to knead dough, by observing. I carry it in my purse for good luck. I find inspiration for my writing across a variety of mediums, not only other writers, though reading is important. Inspiration can be anything that strikes a light inside you, and I really mean it when I advise you to seek out different styles, things you might not otherwise check out. You never know. You just never know. Here are a few of my inspirations.
What a joke I've been dying to tell you.
It was cats. I don't see how they caught all those cats so fast and hung them in the trees, but they did.
The war is so fucking simple.
Butter, cream.
I got out of the psychiatric hospital in March. My older sister was dead by May. It was one of the most diabolically turbulent years of my life. I was 20 years old. I felt punished by a senseless, bored God. Manic episodes where it felt as though the world had peeled back at the corners, letting in the ultraviolet rays only I had the utmost pleasure to witness. Moments where I could barely breathe but for the pain, the brain ache. My sister had succumbed to her lifelong relationship to substances. Wine in the early morning watching the clouds, a Xanax for the shivers, Alice on a tap of acid in the summertime. It was a love for invincibility that we shared. We took the dare every time. That summer, in Texas, behind the concussed sunsets and parked at gas stations, drinking cough syrup in the backyard after a fight with my mother, I discovered what it was I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was studying creative writing back in New York, learning how to craft sentences and write dialogue. But I wasn't good yet. In fact, I was awful. Everything I wrote was sarcastic, ugly, and suggestive of what might make sense. But, sparkling and burning and waning like a candle, the world told me that I was going to be a writer. However long it took, I was going to attack my craft and wouldn't stop until I was good, then even better. For all the year was awful, this relationship was my lifeline, the diamond in the graveyard, my lust. I was born. And it worked. 7 years after the fact, and I have 2 books out, both fiction, both dealing with dependency of the visceral kind. I need you in my veins. I crawled in, but now I can't get out of your head. Acid in Georgia, released with Bottle Cap Press, was released when I was 23, fresh out of another hospital stay. Shrine is a novella I wrote when I was 22, but released when I was 25. It is based on reading my sister's journal, an ode to her story. I am very pleased with how raw these are, like scrapbooks in the closet. grand mal seizure. There's however it is you call, and there's whatever it is you're calling too. July, I sew my own dress from calico and lace. August, they take it off me in the colony, trade it in for standard issue Virginia cotton. Not much room for my body in the heavy slip. Maybe that's the idea. For a while, the abandoning was rare, and then it was not, and would never be again. Imagine you are an animal in your own throat. The dormitory has a pitch-dark roof and a high porch. We are not allowed outside. Instead, we go to the window and make a game of racing dogwood blossoms, knocked down by the wind. Choose your flower as it falls and seize who is the first to hit the clay. I beat the crippled girl every day for a week. The trick is to pick the smaller petals. Most nights they knot the bedsheet in my mouth so I will not bite my tongue. Lay out on the pine floor. Rattle your own bones back to the center of the world. In the beds, the smell of kerosene and lye. The girls wake themselves one after another. Spasm winter wine. Outside, cicadas. In the distance, the big house lights. Another truck comes loud up the road, bearing another girl. There is whatever it is you're calling to. There is however it is you call. I often challenge myself in the mornings to do a writing practice. Set a timer for 10 minutes and write. Choppy sentences about wedding dresses, a profile of your best friend, a very short story, scenes at a graveyard. Anything, as long as you keep writing for the entire 10 minutes. I find these very effective at getting my brain loose.
Sí, mira, donde lo tienen, está chiquito, que ya van a hacer, ¿vale? Aunque sea la mitad, ¿no? Hacer un caldito y el...
Bolts of fabric. He only has so many bolts of fabric, and they're all different colors. And this is what he's got, and he just puts them together in different ways, but you always know that you always know an Elliott Smith melody when you hear one, because they're all related, but he doesn't necessarily repeat himself. He just shuffles them around. I think almost more than anyone, his melodies have this signature kind of feel, and you can almost guess where he's going to go, but he might surprise you.
That's singer-songwriter Jessica Hoop.
I found that song, Angelus, to become a heartbreaker over time. I was in Sonoma County before when I was getting to know that material. And then I moved to Los Angeles and was starting my life as a songwriter in a career context in terms of taking it up professionally. And the way I relate to that particular song, I began to relate to it in a way that the music industry was revealing itself to me, and how to choose a path in the arts can come along with a lot of heartbreak and frustration and disillusionment, and yeah, that's my take on the song in terms of it being a person disenchanted with Hollywood and with the music industry and the promises that it makes and fails to keep, or sometimes fails to keep.
That's all, folks.